Kuzu Zampala. First, I would like to thank Dr. Carmel Ora and everyone at CBS for organizing this incredible conference, and for the royal family for their kindness in making this all possible. For all of the esteemed speakers and everyone in the audience today, thank you so much. So for this presentation, I will like to talk about the glorious Mani Mantra and the living tradition of carving it. As you all know, this is Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of supreme compassion, who embodies the enlightened intent to benefit all sentient beings and lead them all to perfect precious Buddhahood. It is said that Avalokiteshvara's compassion is as vast as the sky, and his heart is the Mani Mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum. Both Avalokiteshvara and the Mani Mantra are very profound and powerful, and to illustrate this point, I would like to read a quote from Dogo Chinse Rinpoche. The 6 syllables of Avalokiteshvara's mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, are a manifestation of Avalokiteshvara himself. Whenever anyone, even an ignorant wild animal, sees these 6 syllables or hears the sound of the mantra, the seed of liberation is sown in his being, and he is protected from rebirth in the lower realms of existence. The syllables of Avalokiteshvara's mantra, even when written by an ordinary human hand, are not ordinary syllables, but have been consecrated by Avalokiteshvara's wisdom mind. These syllables are made of his blessings. They have the power to liberate. The Mani Mantra is revered and carved all throughout the Himalayas, and in the last 5 years, I've been very fortunate to visit many of these different sites. So all those blue dots are some of the places I've been lucky to visit and connect with the carving the Mani Mantra. And this is where the photos from the slide will be from. The Mani Mantra is traditionally carved with a hammer and chisel, but these days many carvers use a Dremel or power tools. And people from all backgrounds carve the Mani. Monks, lay people, yogis in retreat, retirees. And there's many ways to stack the Mani. So in the top right here in Dechen Podrang Monastery in Thimphu, you see this beautiful, clean architectural style. Or in the bottom right in Bhutan, in Tarpeling, there's this very beautiful doorway that apparently leads to a terma that has not been revealed yet, and there's manis carved on that. Or next to it, this kind of mural size, beautiful mani that's carved into that rock face. On the left in Nangchen, Tibet, you have these huge boulders where one syllable is written on each one, or this incredible temple structure that actually consists of thousands of carved stones. That's the whole Kanjur. It's really incredible. So now I would like to talk about 3 very exceptional Mani walls. This is one in Pharping, Nepal, at the great master Chacha Rinpoche's personal retreat cabin. It's very rare to see this Mani wall. And these were made and offered by Ajo Garpo. Ajo Garpo was probably the greatest Mani carver of the 20th century, and he spent over 50 years in Sikkim carving the Mani basically every day. And as you can tell by looking at this, he's an incredible artist, an incredible stone carver, but also a practitioner with very high realization. And that's why I think these Manis are so perfect. They look like they're self-arisen, like they're effortless, because of the level of his practice. Now, the largest Mani wall is in Yushu, Tibet, and it's actually more like a Mani mountain. And for scale here, that is a person. And so they are carrying like a bag of their Manis to add to the wall of their accumulation that day. And it's incredible. So, there's many temples all throughout the world where people have been making prayers for hundreds and thousands of years. But the Mani is so special because that prayer is made manifest on the stone. So we can go and we can see and witness this collective effort to benefit all sentient beings. Now, most of us are always concerned with how do we make money, how do we make ends meet, and what's the point of spending all this time carving a rock? But if someone really has true devotion and cultivates bodhicitta, the intent to benefit all sentient beings, and then carves the Mani with single-pointed concentration, then it's very profound. It's a very profound practice. And to then go to a site like this and see that collective effort that all of these people throughout the last couple hundred years are doing this practice to benefit all sentient beings that goes beyond nation, that goes beyond religion, that goes beyond species, is really awe-inspiring. Now, those photos are okay, but to get a scale of the Mani wall, I want to show you a 360 video. It's vast. Now, 5 hours from the Yushu Mani Wall in the remote area of Zachuka is Patrul Rinpoche's Mani Wall. And Patrul Rinpoche was one of the greatest masters of the 19th century. Many people say that he was the emanation of Shantideva, and he spent a lot of time and effort on this Mani Wall. He commissioned many Mani carvers, and he even inspected every Mani before it would go on the wall. And as you can see here, it's like over a mile long. It's incredible. On the left is Patrul Rinpoche's Kurung Stupa, which is at the Mani Wall, and on the right is a picture of the shrine in the temple there. Now, carving the Mani is a very humble practice. It's not glamorous, and many people might think it's quite simple, but if done correctly, it is deeply profound. I was told a story last year where one of Patrul Rinpoche's students, Azum Drukpa, had a student who was a Mani carver, and he taught him Guru Yoga and told him to do Guru Yoga while carving the Mani. And so this Mani carver committed himself to this practice, and through years of this practice, he attained full rainbow body. And after visiting this Mani Wall and seeing the devotion of the carvers there, seeing the devotion of the pilgrims there, I have no doubt that this is true. And I also don't think this is a singular event. I think that many people probably have attained similar realization through this practice. Now, this practice is not just an artifact of the past, it's a living tradition. And the 10th Bhakha Tulku Rinpoche is a teacher who is preserving this tradition, is propagating this tradition, and I'm very fortunate to be able to call Rinpoche my teacher. And through his blessings, I have connected to this practice. Rinpoche was born in Tibet and was recognized by the 16th Karmapa. He entered his first 3-year retreat when he was 13, and his two main teachers are His Holiness Dudjom Rinpoche and Chalcho Rinpoche. Unfortunately, we don't have time to go into life stories of these two incredible masters, but a quick example, Chalcho Rinpoche, if you put all of the years that he did in retreat together, it would be over 3 decades. His Holiness Dudjom Rinpoche recognized Bhakha Rinpoche's calligraphic talent from a young age and sent him to Minjerlin to perfect his Uchen and Ume, which Rinpoche did. Upon completing his studies, Rinpoche then became Dudjom Rinpoche's personal secretary for 7 years, where he would write Dudjom Rinpoche's correspondence and important documents. He also lived with Chalcho Rinpoche, where he would transcribe very rare and precious texts by hand. Pinna Rinpoche also asked Bhakha Rinpoche to teach all the tulkus of Namdrling calligraphy for many years, which Rinpoche did. Bhakha Rinpoche also has a very close connection to Bhutan, as the 8th Bhakha Tulku Rinpoche was very close with the first king. I've been very fortunate to live and travel with Rinpoche, and it's incredible to see that he always writes the Mani. He writes Manis on stones, on paper. He always writes it. And it's one thing to read about compassion or conceptualize about bodhicitta, but it's a different thing to be able to live and spend time with someone who has integrated that into every fiber of their being. It's incredibly life-changing. And on my first day attending Rinpoche and traveling with him, he told me, in all your free time, carve the Mani. Don't waste time. And I've been trying to do that. I started carving the Mani in my mid-30s. This young boy in Tibet has a much greater head start, and I rejoice for him. And it's not an easy thing. You don't want to cut a syllable. You have to really respect what you're carving, and the stone is hard, and there's always water kind of splashing, and you have this very high-voltage machine, and you're trying to carve a straight, deep, smooth line. So you have to have a very steady hand and a very steady mind. And I used to think that, the more creative things are, the more different things are. But actually, through this practice and carving hundreds of stones, I see that there's freedom in this discipline, freedom in that restraint. And it allows me to see that everything is always fresh, everything is always new. This is a hand-chiseled Mani from Pemakote. We also gild a lot of Rinpoche's Manis, so this is a process shot. So we will have the stone, we will make the stone smooth, Rinpoche will write the Mani, I will carve it. We will then paint like a yellow oil primer, wait a day, paint on the glue, wait a few hours, put down the gold, wait a few hours, burnish it, the next day paint the varnish. So it's very time intensive. But I think it's another way to also cultivate devotion, cultivate bodhicitta, and then single-minded concentration. And it's also quite beautiful at the end when you see the sun hit the Mani and see the rays go out everywhere. It's incredible. Now, wherever Bhakha Rinpoche goes, he plants the seeds of these mani walls. So when we were in Pamako and Dewakota for a month, Rinpoche wrote over 300 manis, and somehow we were able to carve all of them. I've seen Rinpoche plant the seeds of mani walls in Pharping and Swayambhu in Nepal, in Boomtang, all throughout the US. And this is one of his mani walls in Tularosa, New Mexico. So Tularosa is in the middle of nowhere. It's just like a small little desert town. And when I first went there, I didn't really understand why Rinpoche was building a mani wall there. Yes, it's a big sky, but I just didn't get it. But after spending more time there, then I realized that actually this site is 60 miles from the first nuclear test site. So you have this nuclear bomb, which kind of epitomizes selfishness and aggression and ignorance. And then Rinpoche very humbly and very quietly is building this mani wall that embodies compassion and wisdom and selflessness. And it's incredible. Also, it's interesting to think about the lifespan of these stones. So any of these stones, some of them can be hundreds of millions of years old. And when the mani is written and carved on the stone, it becomes inseparable from Avalokiteshvara. So in that sense, any being in those hundreds of millions of years that have stepped on that stone or seen it or walked by it now has the seed of enlightenment planted in their mind stream. In that way, Rinpoche also has stones from all over the US, from all over the world, sent to these walls where he writes and they're carved. So in that sense, the blessings of Avalokiteshvara go out to all time and all space to benefit all sentient beings. It's an incredibly vast view and an incredibly profound view. So it is my aspiration that when these mani walls proliferate throughout the world, that people will take up this practice. And if anyone would like to collaborate on a mani wall or learn how to carve the mani, I am always available for this. And I would like to end this talk with a video of Rinpoche writing the mani. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. This was such a beautiful, beautiful presentation, to say the least. It speaks amazingly of our intermingling of artistic expression with Buddhist thought, and we all appreciate the kind of technical skill that goes with it, the determination, the dedication. Thank you so very much, Peter, for bringing this up. I believe the next speaker is not present, if I'm not, yeah. So next I will go to Sarah Annie Stoll, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, she will be speaking on the blanket songs, indigenous sound, ritual, and contemplative practices. And this is something we look forward to listen to, because Sarah, as it is here, she has completed her PhD in art history at the University of Wisconsin-Madison in 2019 with a dissertation critiquing an example of ethnic fraud in modern American Indian art. Her academic interests extend beyond art history to include curatorial practices and museum studies. She has also worked with prominent institutions such as the Dallas Museum of Art and Milwaukee Art Museum, as well as for a variety of academic galleries. She was a contributor for an exhibition of contemporary native art that was opened in 2013 in Venice. And then her recent publications include Spirituality, Art, and Memory in Installation by John Hitchcock and Eric Paul Regi in Religion and the Arts, that was in 2025, Riding the Waves of History, How Installation Art Reclaims and Indigenous Spaces in First American Art Magic, Hustling and Hoxing, Institutions, Modern Styles, and Native Art in American Indian Culture and Research Journal, and Introduction in Wisconsin in Watercolor, edited by Elizabeth Wyckoff. And she is now currently working as Associate Professor of Art History for Edge College, Madison. And so we look forward to listen to her, because not always we get to hear about contemporary Native American art. Yes, Sarah, please, we look forward.
So thank you for being here. And thank you to the hosts for putting together such a wonderful conference. I truly appreciate it. I'm humbled and I'm honored to be presenting here with such prestigious and kind scholars and spiritual leaders. So I'm very happy to be here today. My current work explores ways contemplative and meditative practices manifest in traditional arts of various Native American communities. As one of many examples, the Washoe basket makers of what is now California emphasize the requirement that one have a right mind and a positive mind while harvesting materials and while creating baskets, lest negative energies and spirits be captured in the final object. This echoes some other global indigenous animistic traditions and evidences that the notion of focused mind exists cross-culturally and across geographic locality. More specifically, my paper considers traditional Native American sound and imagery as doorway to meditative and contemplative practices. As frame, I consider the works of Kiowa Comanche artist John Hitchcock. Although contemporary, John's work is connected to long histories of Native American contemplative prayer practices, adding a second layer for conversations regarding the transformation of traditional practices and imagery in the contemporary world. Because of time constraints, I will simply introduce John and his work to you through sharing about a show that I curated of his work titled Blanket Songs, and a show that I curated for Edgewood College a few years ago. I'll begin by sharing a very brief example of the kinds of songs John harnesses in his work. This first audio is a blessing song that he gave me permission to share. The audio features the voices of his grandparents. Their voices, intertwined with recorded sounds from the land, are central to understanding Hitchcock's installation work. The use of this song allows for everyone to mentally gather in one place, and to gather in harmony, and to honor and recognize ancestors, to begin in a good way, essentially. So let's see if this will play.
Oh, yo, Rami Sutaina. Oh, yo, Rami Sutaina. Rami Sutaina. Anan Suwakai Yunana. Anan Sutai Kita. Oh, yo, Rami Sutaina. Oh, yo, Rami Sutaina. Oh, yo, Rami Sutaina. Rami Sutaina. Anan Suwakai Yunana. Anan Sutai Kita.
So John is an enrolled Kiowa with Comanche heritage, so I quickly share this map so you can get a sense of where in the world we're talking about. He creates installation works that are essentially full rooms that merge sound, movement, materiality, and ritual. His practice combines printmaking, video, sound, and neon to act as a living testament to cultural resilience and indigenous continuity. In Hitchcock's works, materials and symbols are not passive. They carry ancestral knowledge, memory, and power, animated through sound and ritual movement. Materials such as naga hide, ribbons, and neon reflect cultural continuity, connecting present-day practices with long-standing Kiowa and Comanche traditions. For example, suspended from the ceiling, he shows what he calls shields titled Welcome from the Stars, Kaku and Tako, created with screen print, ribbons, grommets, dye, and acrylic on naga hide. The celestial imagery references Kiowa and Comanche origin stories. In Comanche, Kaku and Tako mean grandmother and grandfather. Signaling familial ties to the spirit world. The gallery transforms into a ceremonial space where ancestral spirits, animated through the sounds and these materials, interact with visitors. Hitchcock's use of video projections further heightens the otherworldly aura where past, present, and future coexist. Naga hide is a synthetic kind of substitute for leather. It's the kind of plasticky material in a lot of contemporary cars. He uses it to evoke resilience and adaptation. Historically, buffalo hides held spiritual, and still contemporarily, hold spiritual and practical significance for Kiowa and Comanche. Hitchcock transforms industrial materials into storytelling mediums, echoing the tactile power of pre-contact indigenous practices while challenging fine art world divisions between craft and fine art. You can see repeated Comanche designs like the border and hourglass motif traditionally used for healing ceremonies. Hitchcock reinvents these geometric patterns in neon, extending their significance into the contemporary world. The calendar hides are mounted on the walls. You can see them in the background on the left here. They're actually traced from a buffalo hide that his grandmother kept in her living room. They draw directly from Comanche record-keeping traditions. The shield forms kind of move like energetic mirages of dancers, evoking ceremonial movement and memory. Traditional shields were protectors, not only of the body, but also a sort of spiritual protection. Often layered with feather, furs, and personal emblems, Hitchcock's suspended shields retain these associations of protection and identity, while ribbons attached to them sway in the air currents, recalling ceremonial dance regalia and evoking ancestral presence. Elsewhere, geometric imagery in the installation mirrors traditional beadwork, such as on the moccasins worn and crafted by Hitchcock's grandmother. Examples of historic beadwork were also on view to directly connect the past to the present in the exhibition. Indigenous artisans adopted ribbons in the 1700s from French fur traders, and glass beads later were imported from Venice. Both materials are rooted in global trade routes and harnessed as vibrant, adaptable mediums for ceremonial dress. These global materials became woven into indigenous material culture, speaking to the adaptability and creativity of indigenous peoples during the devastating decades, centuries of colonization. In the exhibition Blanket Songs, sound is equally vital. Hitchcock's integration of Comanche hymns, spoken stories, and music creates an immersive, contemplative environment. His recorded album, Blanket Songs, plays in the gallery, merging soundscapes and materiality. It includes the voices of his grandparents, as well as traditional stories, and new music performed by his band, The Stolen Sea. This integration of sound aligns with the understanding of music as medicine in indigenous communities, where music, the words, the vibrations, the sounds, serve as a medium to restore balance and harmony, promoting emotional, spiritual, and physical healing. Video projections ripple across the floor of the exhibition. They feature imagery from Hitchcock's childhood landscape, the Wichita Mountains of Oklahoma, along with buffalo and references to militarization. This region, reserved after the 1867 Treaty of Medicine Lodge, carries layers of spiritual, cultural, and political history for the Kiowa and the Comanche. Through sound, video, and installation, Hitchcock uses the gallery space as site of indigenous intervention into narratives of loss, survivance, and resilience. And I will just play a little bit of this, if it works, so that you can get a sense of the types of projections that he was using. Okay, and if you're interested in more, I'm happy to share more of that with you. Let's see. Language preservation plays a vital role in blanket songs. Hitchcock sculpts Comanche words such as numanu, which literally is the Comanche word that they use for themselves. It is translated as the people. And Taibo, which is essentially the way that numanu people talk about white people or colonizer people in neon. Neon is typically associated with commercial signage. It's repurposed here to sort of reflect cultural endurance. Historically, colonial policies, such as the boarding school system, attempted to erase indigenous languages, severing children from their communities and cultures. As of 2022, fewer than 9 fluent speakers of Comanche remained. By inscribing these words in neon, Hitchcock affirms that Comanche identity is vibrant and strong. The Neon Works Honor Song, Arena Director, Timekeeper, and Honor Song Necessity of Innovation incorporate traditional Comanche symbols that you see here on the left. The border and hourglass motif I've already mentioned, radiating circles and directional arrows recall beadwork, dance, and healing practices. Through this work, Hitchcock asserts that indigenous traditions are not static relics, but dynamic and contemporary expressions of identity. At its core, blanket songs is an offering. Blankets within indigenous cultures, indigenous communities signify respect, protection, and honor. Although physical blankets are absent, the installation acts symbolically as a blanket offering to John's ancestors, to all indigenous ancestors, wrapping visitors in sound, in ritual, and in memory. Through materials, song, language, and movement, Hitchcock is creating a ritual space that uses traditional imagery and objects in new ways. He invites visitors to pause, to listen, and to use the space he creates as an opportunity to reflect. Thank you.